So let's get started with the lesson of 2.1. What this whole chapter 2 is going to be on is solving equations. Okay? When we are solving equations, our goal, anytime we're solving equations, is to get the variable by itself. It's kind of like it wants to be a loner. It doesn't want anybody on the same side as it. The variable is going to be the letter. Okay, a lot of times they use X, sometimes they'll switch to T. It's all the same principle. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off with problems like number 1 on that printout, which is X minus 3 equals 9. Okay, so first of all, let's identify the variable in this problem. The variable that we're trying to get alone is this X, whatever the letter is. You want it completely by itself. Okay, so what are you going to do that? You're going to, which means this is what needs to go away. This minus 3 needs to go away in order for that X to be alone. So now what we're going to think about is what is the opposite of subtracting 3, because that's how you knock stuff out, is you do the opposite of whatever it is doing. If it is subtracting 3, the opposite of that would be to add 3, right? That's what's going to knock out or cancel a minus 3 is a plus 3. Now, when you are solving equations, it's real important to keep this equal symbol just coming straight down. You don't want to move it all over. You want to keep it coming straight down. And here's why. Because whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do that same exact thing to the other side of the equal sign. That's why you don't want to shift it around. It needs to stay real nice and neat and orderly in the same spot. So if I have added 3 to this side, in order for, it's kind of like a balance. In order for your equation to not get out of balance, if you add 3 to one side to get it back in balance, you have to do the same exact thing to the other side. So if I have added 3 here, I'm going to have to come over to the other side of the equal symbol and add 3 here. Okay? A lot of times I've seen people make mistakes just by getting their equation sloppy and unorganized, especially later on when we get into multi-step equations. Okay? So remember to keep everything nice and neat and orderly. Bring down your equal symbol. Let's see. What happens here? This minus 3 and plus 3 simply cancel each other out. That's the whole reason we did it, is we wanted to cancel out this minus 3 with the plus 3. So look who is all alone, like it wants to be. Remember, the letter is a loner. It wants to be by itself. Here's my equal sign. On the other side, since I added 3 to the 9, I am left with 12. Once you get the variable by itself, the other side of the equal symbol is your answer. Now, when you go and type this in, you'll notice it's going to say exactly what this says. The solution set is. That's just simply where you put your number. You don't even put the X. You simply put 12 or whatever your answer is. Okay? You don't need to put X equals or anything like that. Okay? Let's look at some more. A problem like number 2. T minus 2 equals negative 5. So again, this time they're using a t instead of an x. The variable still wants to be alone, okay? Which means I need sorry, I forgot to bring up my chat. I just brought up the chat in case you had a question. I'll be able to see it. Okay, so this right here, t minus 2 equals negative 5. So if t needs to be alone, let's see, bring down my equal symbol. To get rid of the minus 2, I'll do the opposite of that, which is plus 2. If I do plus 2 here, I've got to plus 2 here. So let's see, this minus 2 cancels out the plus 2 over here. So all I'm left with is the t. Drop down my equal symbol. Now, here's where a lot of people will make the mistake because they got positives and negatives coming up now. Okay, remember, we have this calculator that we have spent a lot of money on, so we're going to make it worth it. We're going to make it do all of the math that I don't like to do. I don't like to add fractions. I don't like to add and subtract with positives and negatives. Things like that. I don't like to do decimal work on my own. All that kind of stuff, I'm going to make my calculator do. So remember this right here. This is a negative 5. So what you want to do, make sure when you're typing in negative, the minus button and the negative button are two different things, okay? The negative button is right underneath the 3. So when I want to type in negative 5, I need to make sure I hit this negative button, not the minus button. So I need negative 5. And then what am I doing? Plus 2, plus 2. Enter. And you'll see that you get negative 3. Again, just make this calculator do that work for you. Negative 5 plus 2 gives me negative 3, which is your answer. Okay? Now, if you don't have your calculator yet, that is fine, but this is what you would have to, and even an add, subtract, multiply, divide, $10 calculator from Walmart or whatever, usually those do have a negative button, okay? So you have to think about it like this, a negative 5 plus 2. So if you are on the number line and you are at, let me do it down here. If you had to do this on your own and the zero's right there, this would be the negative side, so negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. If this is your starting point, negative 5. If you're going to add 2 to that, adding makes you go this way on the number line. So if I add 2 to that, 1, 2, you will see that you end up at that negative 3. Okay? If you didn't have the calculator. Okay? I am going to do a problem that's not on the sheet right now. So this right here, so when you're doing your homework, that first problem that I did is going to match the first problem in your homework. This problem that I did is going to match number 2 in your homework. Now I'm going to do an extra problem just because I want to show you how to check all of your answers before you put them in. So let's see, let's say I had x plus 7 equals 10. Now, I know most of you can look at this and say, well, that needs to be a 3 because I know 3 plus 7 equals 10. Okay, we got that, but we want to know the steps when we get to the problems that I can't just look at and say that x needs to be a 3. So that's why we have these individual steps that we're going to learn for equations that we can't just look at and tell what the answer is. Okay, so again, here's my equal symbol. I have a plus 7, which means I need to do the opposite of that, which this time would be to subtract 7. If I do it on this side, I have to do it on this side. So the plus 7 and minus 7 cancels out. That's the whole reason we did it, right? Was to cancel it out so that x would be alone. Bring down my equal. 10 minus 7, there's your 3 that you could probably tell by looking at that. So let's say you wanted to check your equation or check your answer. Whatever you get, and this goes for any equation that you're ever going to solve. Whatever you get as your answer, if you take that number back to the original equation and put it in for the x, right? You're saying that that x is 3, which means if you go back and put it in place of that x, it should make both sides of your equal symbol the same exact thing, right? That's what equal means. One side equals the other. So let's see, if I put the 3 in for this x, what would you have? 3 plus 7 equals 10. Well, what is 3 plus 7? 10 does equal 10. So that's how you would know that your answer is correct. Okay? All right, feel free anytime you have a question to type it in chat or just unmute yourself and ask the question. It doesn't bother me at all to answer questions in the middle of a lecture. Okay, now moving on down the homework sheet. So this will match number 3 when you do your homework. -6 equals t minus 19. So here's something new. I'm just going to go ahead and bring down my equal symbol. It does not matter what side of the equal sign your letter ends up on. It just wants to be alone, period. Which means, where is your letter? Here it is right here. It wants to be alone, which means what needs to go away? You always want to work on the side where your letter is to get rid of anything else that is on that side. Which means I don't want to add the 6 and bring it over here. That means I'm bringing new stuff over to the t, and the t hates anything else. The t wants to be alone. It doesn't care what side it's on. It just wants to be alone. So if this t is going to be by itself, I need to get rid of minus 19. Well, again, you always get rid of stuff by doing the opposite. So I'm going to get rid of this minus 19 with a plus 19. What's the rule? You do it on the one side, you have to do that same exact thing on the other side. So if I added 19 here, I'm going to add 19 here. Bring down my equal symbol again. Doesn't matter which side you're messing with first right now. If I just want to go from left to right, what do I have here? I've got -6 plus 19. Oh, I see a negative. I don't really want to do that in my head. So remember, the negative symbol is below the 3. So I need a -6. And then what? Plus 19. So just type in exactly what you want. -6 plus 19. Enter. Gives you 13. So this side is 13. Equals. This t is right here. What happens to all this? it cancels out, right? Because you had a minus 19 plus 19, which just makes that go away. So the only thing that's left over here is the t equals 13. So 13 would be your answer, right? So again, you just go and you're just typing in 13 as your answer when you enter that into MathLab or whatever your answer is on number 3. Again, it doesn't matter that the t ends up on the right side and it looks funny, right? It doesn't look like we're used to seeing it. We're used to seeing it over here. But 13 equals t is the same exact thing as saying t equals 13, right? Those say the same thing. 13 equals t is the same thing as saying t equals 13. There's no difference in that. Okay, 13 is your answer either way about it. All right, number 4, r plus 4 equals 20. Same thing. This time we're using the r. It's over here on the left, which is kind of like how we like to see it. I'm going to bring down my equal symbol. Yes, Kayla, just the answer. When you enter the answer, like on that last one, what'd I get, 13? So 13 is all I would enter. And once I get done with this lecture, I'm actually going to go to the MathLab assignment and work yeah, there you go. And work a couple of them and show you how to input the answers. Okay? So here. So r plus 4 equals 20. Getting rid of the plus 4. The opposite is minus 4. If I do it on one side, I got to do it on the other. Cancels it out over here. All I'm left with is r equals 20 minus 4 gives you 16. So all you would do is enter 16. Woo, Kayla, I'm sorry about that. That probably should have just been addressed with you and told you just not to enter your X's. And on something like that, especially on a test, everybody, if you're looking at Kayla's thing in chat, say on the test, I'll go through all the tests, even though you take them online, I go through all of them and look at what you put in and to try and figure out why you got it wrong. If the answer was 16, and for some reason on that problem, you just forgot that you were supposed to put an R, and you put R equals 16, I'm going to go back and give you credit for that. Okay? You did the work right. You got the right answer. You just put in R equals 16 instead of 16. So if you ever see something like that on a test and it marks you wrong for a problem like that, that's just one of the disadvantages of taking these tests online. There's a lot of advantages because you get to take them, at home. You get the grade immediately as soon as you don't have to wait on me to grade anything. But one of the disadvantages is if you put in R equals 16, it's going to mark it wrong because it doesn't recognize the R as being part of the correct answer. Also, if you were typing in 16 and your finger hit the comma or something like that, again, it's going to mark it wrong. But you can go back and look at your answers after you submit your test and see what you got wrong and see if you did something like one of these two things, just shoot me an email. I just go back in there and look at it and say, oh, she just hit that comma button in between her 1 and 6. I'll just, I can go back and give you credit for that. So that is a disadvantage, but all you have to do is just go back and look at your problems that you got wrong on your test. And if it's something like that, I do not mind giving you credit for that. Okay, number 5. We have x plus 1/10 equals negative 1/5. So, going with the rules that we have come up with to get the x by itself, bring down my equal symbol, I would need to get rid of plus 1/10 with a minus 1/10. If I do it on this side, I have to do it on this side. Okay, bring down my x. This side's not bad, right? I just canceled out the plus 1/10 with the minus 1/10. So that's just gone. Here, bring down my equal symbol. Here's where I'm going to have to do some work that I don't like to do. First of all, I see negative symbol. Second of all, I see fractions. Not only do I see fractions, those fractions have unlike denominators, okay? I might attempt to do this in my head if the denominators were the same, because that's not as difficult and as have as many steps as adding and subtracting with different denominators. So I am going to do it by hand in just a second, but I want to show you another. This right here, adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators makes this calculator worth its price. Okay, what do I need to tell my calculator? I want to tell it to do negative 1/5 minus 1/10. Exactly that. So remember, negative button under the 3. Now, to type in a negative under the 3. To type in a fraction, because now I want to type in 1/5, the division button is your fraction bar. So I want to type in 1/5. So I put in 1, come hit your division button, and look what pops up when I hit my division button, a fraction symbol. 5, so negative 1/5. What's next? Now I need minus 1/10. So now I'm going to hit the minus button, and I'm typing in 1/10. So 1, remember, over is your division bar, 10. So negative 1/5 minus 1/10, hit enter. Now, if you get a decimal, which a lot of times you will when you're adding and subtracting fractions, MathLab does not want the decimal answer. Okay? A lot of times it'll even tell you, it'll say simplify your answer, type an integer, which means a number that's not a fraction, or a fraction. So what I want to do now is turn this answer into what it would be as a fraction. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit this math button. The very first thing under the math button is turn my answer into a fraction. So hit enter. Then it says it again. Do you want to turn your last answer, which is negative 0.3, do you want to turn that into a fraction? Yes. So hit enter again. There it is as a fraction. Negative 3/10. Okay, so not only does it add and subtract fractions, it also will turn your answer, your decimal answer, into its fraction equivalent. Not only its fraction equivalent, but it's fraction equivalent in lowest reduced. It reduces the answer for you. What was it? So negative 3/10 would be your answer that you put in. Okay? Now, for those of you who do not have your calculator as of yet, I am going to work this fraction part out by hand for you right now so that you do have an example of that to do your homework this week or this here in a little bit. So you don't have to have the calculator yet, okay? But again, just for that simple thing right there, again, that makes the calculator worth it. So let's see, if I didn't have the calculator, I would have to do -1/5 minus 1/10. Now, the bad thing about this is my denominators are not the same. I can't just do that right now how it is. So the first thing I have to do is come up with what's called a least common denominator. Here's my denominators, 5 and 10. The smallest thing that both of those numbers go into is a 10, right? 10 goes into 10, and 5 goes into 10. So that tells me I want to turn both of those denominators into 10s. So this one is good. It already is a 10, which means I don't even need to work or mess with that fraction. I want it to be a 10. So here, right here, if I multiply this by 10, but now how do I turn this into a 10? Multiply it times 2. If I do it on top, I have to do it on bottom. So what does this turn into? It's still negative. Multiply on top and bottom, 2/10. Bring down the -1/10. Now my denominators are the same, so I will just bring over that 10. -2 minus 1 gives you -3. So that's how you would do it by hand. Lauren, if you want to unmute yourself and let us know that. An easier way to put in a fraction. Lauren, do you want to unmute? I'll let you do that in a minute if you want to. You don't have to, but we're all anytime y'all know a shortcut about something on a calculator or something like that, go ahead and let us know.
There is a fraction button on the calculator.
Where is it? In math?
No, when you hit the alpha button.
Oh, okay.
And then like underneath mode and link, at least on mine, there's like a little fraction symbol.
Oh.
You see it?
Uh-huh.
And then you
I
can
hit link.
Uh-huh.
Hit right here.
Under like on mine it had, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
but like it literally has like a little fraction symbol.
Oh.
And I can type in the fraction how I see it and get the answer.
I don't see it on mine. So you hit alpha first?
I think it's on that calculator.
Maybe it's not on the same on mine. I have seen that somewhere. I think it may just be in a different spot on mine. I don't know. I think somebody was doing that the other day too, on Tuesday, typing in the fraction using the alpha, or was trying to.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to check out calculators at Pulaski Tech?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, the library, you can check them out just like you would a book from the library.
Awesome. Okay.
And I think, I'm not for sure on how long you get to keep it. But I think you can, just like a book, you could recheck it out after, every couple weeks or however long you get to check it out. But
perfect.
Yeah, the Pulaski Tech, so you would just need to bring your student ID.
Okay.
and check it out at the Pulaski Tech Library.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. You know, you could do, I have had students do that before and check it out like on test days so that they can use it for the test. You know, write down the notes on how to do it, you know, through the weeks or whatever, but then check it out the week of the test. Okay, now before we move on to the next one, there's only 7 problems on today's assignment. I'm going to put another one on the board that has a fraction for y'all to get a practice at it. So I'm just going to put one just like number 5 was. Okay, so I'll just put that. So what you're going to do, right, is subtract 3/7 from both sides. Oh, good, Mike. I'm glad you said that. So here's one to practice, but I am going to work it in just a second.
Okay, am I unmute now?
Yeah, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Lauren. My phone was messing up, so I was trying to tell y'all how to do it. You could go on math. It's alpha, and then you can press y equals, and then it's gonna bring like different kind of things up for fractions, and then you can press enter.
So alpha.
Yes, ma'am. Y equals. Yes, ma'am. And then it brings
if
up.
it's just a simple fraction, you would just hit that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3/5 or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Hit enter.
And then you can enter your stuff in.
It gives you the boxes to fill in. Okay. All right, I'll do it that way on this one. I gotcha. Is Declan here? Sent me an email. So did y'all use the Zoom link in Blackboard, or did you click on the one that I did sent in the email?
Email.
Okay.
Clicked the one from yesterday.
Okay.
I went through the Blackboard.
Okay. Yeah, either way, it's the same link every Tuesday and Thursday. It will not ever change. So you can either go back to that email, or you can just log into Blackboard and click on Foundation's Zoom link. Okay, so again, to get x alone, I need to get rid of the plus 3/7 with a minus 3/7. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. So minus 3/7. Drop down my x. Plus 3/7 minus 3/7 goes away. Equals. Now, I'm going to try this your way. So do I need to hit the negative before? Or can I put the negative up there? I bet I can put it up there.
You can press the arrow, and it's gonna go to the side of the fraction, and you can put the negative on the side of the fraction. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so.
Yes, ma'am. And go back to the.
Over. I'm going to do negative, then alpha, y
Yes, ma'am.
enter.
And then put that fraction.
2 over 5. So I'll just hit the 2 and then this down button. I'm assuming.
Yes, ma'am.
2 over 5. Now I need to hit the right arrow because if I keep typing, see where my cursor is? It's just going to keep typing stuff down there and I don't want to do that. I want to go out to the side of that now. So now I need minus 3/7. So minus. So I'm typing another fraction. So I'll just do alpha y equals, enter. And put in 3 over 7. So 3, go down into the bottom, 7. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, hang on. So I'm back to where I was. So I'm going to do 3 over 7. So 3 down arrow, 7. Hit enter. Oh, and it does it gives you the answer in fraction form when you do it that way, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you wouldn't have to do the math enter at the end to turn, because if I did it my way, it would have given me a crazy decimal. And then I would have just had to hit math enter to turn my crazy decimal into a fraction. Okay, so what did I get? Negative 29 over 35. If you don't have your calculator yet, I'm going to do this math by hand real quick. Negative 2/5 minus 3/7. Now, this one is a little bit more difficult to find the least common denominator, right? I got to try to find the smallest thing that 5 and 7 will go into. So let's think of what is a number that, actually any number that go into will work. So what's the smallest thing that 5 and 7 both go into? Like I can multiply them by something and make them be the same thing. They'll both go into 35. Which means that's what I need them both to be. If I need them both to be 35, that means I need to multiply this guy by 7. If I do it, I got to do it on top and bottom. So again, it's still negative. Multiplying on top and bottom gives me 14 over 35. Minus, how do I make this guy 35? I need to multiply him by 5. I got to do that on top and bottom. So minus 3 times 5 gives me 15 over 35. Now I can do the work because they both have 35s, which means I bring that over. And negative 14 minus 15, if you do that in your calculator, what does it give you? Negative 29. Okay. Now, before we get to number 6, okay, it's kind of like it skips a step. That's what I want to go over is this step that it skips. Okay, the one that is on the homework actually has a problem like this, but these are both fractions. So let's work one without fractions before we try to jump straight into fractions on this kind of problem. Okay, here's the new thing. So I'm going to bring down my equal symbol. What I have here that I haven't had on the previous problems is x's on both sides of my equal sign. If you're going to get the x to be alone, it needs to be on only one side. So what I like to do, and what this does is it keeps your x's positive. I've got to cancel out one of the x's, either the x or the 2x. I'm always going to cancel out the small x. Canceling out the small x will make your x's end up positive. So if I cancel out the small x, I'm going to cancel out this one. And I'm just going to subtract it off to cancel it out. If I did it here, did I do something to one side? I did, which means I have to do the same thing to the other side. So if I subtracted x there, I'm going to subtract x here. So that's gone. All I'm left with here is the 3. Bring down my equal symbol. These are like terms. They're just like regular numbers. If I have 2x and I take away, this one is 1x, right? 2x minus 1x just leaves you with 1x. So you're done, right? X is alone with everything else on the other side. So your answer would just be 3. So that's what you're going to do if you have x's on both sides of the equal symbol. You're going to get rid of the smallest x first. Try it. I'm going to put another one up here like this before I go into 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are very similar to each other, but they do have fractions on this one. So before we get that, let's do this. There's my equal symbol. My x's are on both sides, which tells me to cancel out your smallest x. The smallest one is the 3. So I'm going to get rid of it by just subtracting it away. So if I subtract that away and do by minus 3x, I have to do the same exact thing over here. These go away. Bring down that minus 5 equals 4x minus 3x again leaves you with just 1x. Okay, now we'll go to a problem like number 6. So again, this will match number 6 in your homework. 4/5 plus 3/5, or excuse me, 4/5 plus 3. I'm going to start over. 4/5 W plus 3 equals 9/5 W. So let's see here. I've got W's on both sides, right? The W's all want to be together, and then they want to be alone. But first they want to be together with each other. So the smallest one, if I have 4/5 and 9/5, my smallest one would be the 4/5, right? So that's the one that I'm going to subtract away. I do it here. Here's my equal symbol. Again, now is really where you want to focus on keeping everything organized. Drop down my equal. I subtracted 4/5 W there. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. The easy part is 4/5 minus 4/5 is nothing. So that's gone. All I'm left with is 3. Now, over here, this is not a bad fraction problem. I have to do 9/5 minus 4/5. Well, the good thing about this is they do have the same denominator. When you have the same denominator, and you're adding and subtracting, you're gonna have that same denominator in your answer. The denominator is the bottom number of the fraction. All you have to work with is the top numbers of the fraction. So all I have to figure out is what 9 minus 4 is, which is 5. So I have 5 over 5 W left. Well, what is 5 over 5? Or what is anything, if you put it over exactly itself, it's just 1, right? 5/5 is 1. And what is the same thing as saying 1W? That's the same thing as just saying W equals 3. Your variable is by itself. Your answer is the number on the other side. Okay, number 7 is exactly like that. Just different numbers. So I'm going to put it up here and let y'all work it real quick. It's exactly like number 6. It's 3/4 W plus 3 equals 7/4 W. I'm going to take roll real quick. So either when I call your name, either say here in the chat or unmute and say here. Marquita Alexander. And I'll look too, make sure. Maisha Cook.
I'm here.
Okay, I got you. Lauren Flanagan, I saw you earlier. You talked earlier. Michelle Highsmith. Thank you. I got you, Lauren. Michelle Highsmith.
Here.
Terrell Jackson. Kayla Lester. Saw you.
Here.
Elizabeth Oyana. I'm probably saying that wrong. Oh, I see you, Elizabeth. Kaylin Reese.
Yeah.
Yep. Haley Reeves. I know you're here because you come in as Jalen, right? Haley, you're Jaden, right? Chris Shelton. Right here. Carrie Sorg.
Here.
Ariana Thompson. Michael Walker.
I'm here.
Okay, gotcha. Brittany Ware. Dylan Wayne. Jefflin Williams. I know he was trying to get it earlier. And Deshauna Ziegler.
Here.
Oh, sweet. Okay. I have W's on both sides, which I don't like to see because the W's like to be together. They just don't want to be with anybody else. So first of all, we need to put them together. So I'm going to figure out which one is the smallest one, which is 3/4 or 7/4. Well, 3/4 is smaller than 7/4. So here's what I'm going to get rid of. So I'm going to subtract 3/4. W from both sides. Bring down my equal. Minus 3/4 W here. So let's see, that'll go away. All I'm left with on the left side is 3. Over here, I have 7/4 minus 3/4. I like to see that because they have the same denominator of 4, which means now all I have to do is 7 minus 3, which again gives me 4/4 W, or in other words, 1 W, which is just W, equals 3. Okay? All right, so again, I am going to, so that's all you have that's due this Sunday is your course agreement and 2.1. Those are the 2 assignments. I'm going to share my screen again. And I'll go back to the beginning for those of you who came in a little bit late to show you exactly where you're going to go. And I'm recording this too, so that way if somebody's not here, they'll see. So you would go always to Blackboard, right? That's where everything you need for this entire class is. Click on your class, Foundations of Algebra. Now, for those of you who use the email to get the Zoom link, completely fine. However, I'm not going to send out an email with the Zoom link before every class. I'll just forget. So you can always come here. It's there all the time. Foundations of Algebra Zoom link. If you click on that, it's going to open up your Zoom and you'll be able to join in live. Okay? Or you can just go back to that email that I sent, but you'll have to search for it. Now, let's see. Again, this course content, that's where I got the homework sheet. I literally just went in there to this week 1 and printed off 2.1 homework sheet. So if you print that off in each weekly thing, yours problems will be the exact same problems that I'm going to work during class. So if you wanted to keep everything organized, you could print that off and 3-hole punch it. Take your notes for each problem next to it, and then just keep it organized in a 3-ring binder. Then when you go to do your homework, which is in Blackboard also, you go to Math Lab Student Links. Then the next thing you would click on is My Lab Math All Assignments. Every assignment you're going to turn in this entire semester is going to be here. The only things you'll notice that are due, the due date will be right here. The assignments will be here. Okay? In just a minute, I'm actually going to open up the next 2 weeks of assignments for those of you that do want to work ahead. So I'll open up here in just a second, whatever the next 2 Sundays are. So January 31st and whatever the first Sunday in February is. So in just a little bit, you'll be able to see that'll pop up here. Okay? If you want videos for those, I do have a YouTube channel. Can y'all see YouTube now? Is that what y'all see? Or do y'all still see Math Lab?
We see YouTube.
Okay, so my YouTube channel is just Shelly Hansen. I guess maybe it's Shelly Hansen Math Instructor or something. But if you'll notice, if you go to my channel, there's all the videos that I made last semester, and I taught foundations last semester. So the ones that say foundations of algebra, foundations of algebra will go along with these. So if you scroll down to foundations, like say you were ahead and you wanted to watch the next, then do the next section. Well, this is foundation section 2.2 and start of 2.3. So you can just click on that. There I am, last semester. Okay, so if you wanted to work ahead, you could go to my YouTube channel and just search for foundations of algebra, whatever section you're trying to do. Those videos will be there. Okay, now I am going to do just this first one on my homework assignment, just to show you how you put in the answer and what it's going to look like. It says x minus 9 equals 6. So if I was going to solve this, to get the x by itself, I have to get rid of that minus 9 with the plus 9 on both sides. So I would get x equals 6 plus 9 is 15. I would come over here, come up in this box, and just type in 15. Actually, watch what you, so I'm going to get it wrong the first time. Say I'm going to put in 14. I come down here to check answer. It tells me it's wrong, so I click OK. It gives me actually another chance. So say I get it wrong again. So now you see the check answer says final check. So I'm just going to show you what happens if I actually even get it wrong again. So it tells me what I put, what the correct answer was, but then look what it does. It tells me similar question. So if I click on that, it gives me another problem that's similar to the one that I just got wrong. So let's see how I have a red X up here. That means as of right now, I do not have credit for this problem. Then right here, this, let's see, what would that be? 12 minus 4 equals 8. So let's get this one right. So 12, check answer. Now it tells me fantastic, next question. So now it turned my problem into a green check. If you click this down arrow right here, so say you did part of your homework, but you can't remember where you were. This down arrow up here tells you which ones you have green checks by and which ones either you have a red X by or nothing by. Those are the ones that you need to go in and work. So yes, Micah, or is it Micah? Yeah, let's see. So your homework is Blackboard, Foundations of Algebra, scroll down to My Math Lab student links. When you open that up, then you'll do My Lab Math All Assignments. There's where not only your homework, but every assignment you're going to do for the entire semester. Okay? You're only seeing 2 right now, but I am about to open up the next 2 weeks. So you'll see several after this here in just a little bit. Also, when you get to here, make sure this right here says all assignments all the time. Okay, sometimes some people get it to where it just says, like somehow it gets to where it just says homework. And look, I don't see my course agreement because the course agreement is a quiz. You want this right here to always say all assignments. You can never go wrong with all assignments. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop recording. So that way the recording's not going to be 2 hours long. It'll just be however long we've gone so far. But I'm going to